Driven by a dispute over job cuts, pay and safety concerns, members of the RMT, that's the UK's largest rail union, have just voted in favour of what could be the biggest rail strike in modern history.
Warnings, then, that the summer strikes could bring the country to a standstill. They come as energy prices are set to soar even further. Should they strike during this cost of living crisis? Going to debate that this morning. First, here's the thoughts of commuters.
I think if it was to increase the cost of train tickets, then that would be a negative, I suppose. But I'm not against people getting paid what they're due. Obviously, cost of living is going up a lot.
It just completely ruins your plans. It's like totally against the environment because it drives people onto the roads when they could be on a train.
Might not like the idea of the trains being cancelled, but I support the right of workers to take industrial action to defend their living standards.
Well, we're joined now by Mick Lynch. He's the man. He's the General Secretary of the RMT Transport Union behind the strike, and by restaurant owner David Wilson, who thinks that striking at this time is simply morally wrong. So let's start with you, Mr Lynch. I mean, just to summarise, most train drivers are on an average of about 60 grand a year. They work a 4-day week. Sunday working is optional. Many people would say, sure, use your clout and your leverage to negotiate for better conditions and better safety conditions, but to strike at this time of all times is just socially irresponsible.
Well, this strike isn't just about train drivers. I've got thousands of members. The majority of our members earn very modest salaries, between 25k, 30k, not a lot of money these days. And like everyone else, they're feeling the pinch. And it's because of this cost of living crisis. That's one of the main factors in this dispute. We're going into the third year now. We've not had a pay rise for our people. Some of them are as low as the minimum wage. They're struggling like everyone else. We want the economy to revive. The best way to revive this economy is to give the British worker a pay rise. And companies are making record profits. Yesterday we found out we've got more billionaires than we've ever had. The rich are as rich as they've ever been in this society. And dividends and profits are at record highs. So we need a balance in this society between the rich and the poor, and we're not getting that.
But what you know what you stand accused of, and it's an abuse of power. You have tremendous power. I mean, you really do have your hands around the windpipe of the country in terms of rail travel, and it's an abuse of that power.
It's not an abuse of power. It's a right to take industrial action. We have to jump through a lot of hoops. We've got the most stringent anti-trade union laws of any Western democracy. We've met and smashed all the thresholds. Our members are ordinary men and women right across this country. They want to secure their jobs. This is also about compulsory redundancies, the lowering of safety standards on our railway and the ripping up of our terms and conditions. What we're seeing here is a government that wants to drive down workers' wages, depress workers into a situation where they can be super exploited across the economy with outsourcing, subcontracting and super exploitation, the gig economy and all the rest of it. We've got to rebalance that in our society for all workers in the British economy.
David Wilson, you run a business, you run a restaurant in Blackburn. Are you making record profits?
No, not at all, no.
How would a train strike affect you, your business and your workers?
I think for my business and that lot, and I think all the businesses throughout the country, they're going to suffer. And I think it's not, like the gentleman's saying, about a strike. I think all the way through the sector at the moment, every business, I think it's the timing. I mean, the rumours having it is going to be over the Queen's Jubilee, over the bank holiday weekend. Now, all the businesses lost the money through the pandemic, and what's happened is, they're not going to survive. So all that money, the income is going to be coming into London, into Manchester. For small businesses, is relying on that income through the holidays.
What Mick Lynch is saying is that, obviously rail workers, many workers, suffered during the pandemic, suffering during the cost of living crisis. I presume you'd say, well, the hospitality industry was disproportionately affected during the pandemic.
Of course, it was totally affected. Then every single through care workers, right through the full thing and that, and care workers. If anyone's going to get a rise at the moment, it should be the care workers. And I think, again, everyone should have the right to strike, but it's the timing. I think the timing of it is wrong.
Yes, no one's challenging the right to strike. Of course,
of course. But families, families who haven't met the families for 2 years are going to, struggle going out. It's all the cost of living going up and everything else, again, the energy prices in October. This could be the last chance for families to go visiting the families through through trains, and that is going to be affected.
Well, Mr Lynch, I've just come back from Cornwall. I've got a lot of friends down there who work in the hospitality industry. They have many of them, just about managed to survive the last 2 years. Some of them have gone bankrupt, but those who have survived, they're still rocking on their feet. The news of a train strike as the summer begins is going to be a death blow to them. They are going to be horrified by this vote. They really, really are, because what your members are doing will be affecting other working people, at the very least, in the West Country.
Well, we don't want a strike. We want a settlement. And we're ready to negotiate today, tomorrow, and whenever is needed to get a settlement.
We
have thousands of hospitality workers, by the way.
Yeah.
We have catering workers in our industry who are being made compulsory redundant by this government and by the companies.
What's your proposed settlement?
Our proposed settlement is a guarantee of no compulsory redundancies,
right.
A pay deal that reflects the cost of living at the moment.
What would that pay deal? What's
9%.
Well, no, we're not looking for 9%. At the time that the deal should have been done, inflation was around 7%. And we've lost out on 2 years up to this time of pay deals. So we're looking at the third year of a pay freeze. We will negotiate that with the companies, and we make settlements every day of the year, and we're ready to do that. We don't want to attack workers. If our members get a better pay rise, they'll be able to come to David's restaurant and take a holiday and all the rest of it. At the moment, they won't be able to eat out anyway. And we're part of a movement in the trade union movement that wants every worker in this country to get a fair deal from their employer.
All right, we talk about the right to strike, but as you well know, the government is now making quite serious noises about an emergency change in the law to stop this, to make it illegal for more than a certain number of rail workers to go on strike so that the transport system would continue. Would you, if that law were passed, would you disobey it? Would you break the law and strike anyway?
Well, we'd have to see what the laws are. I mean, I don't go around contemplating breaking the law. I don't know what the laws would be, but any infringement of our civil liberties, the right to take industrial action, is a suppression of our freedoms. The government and other political parties laud the efforts of trade unions in other countries to express their freedoms, but they won't do it here. We have the most stringent anti-union laws that you can possibly countenance, and they want to make that worse. We've seen the public order bill that's going through. They want to take away the right to demonstrate, and they want to take away the right to respond to the government's policy.
David, it makes an interesting point, of course, that if people's wages go up, they are then able to do the things which people in a cost of living crisis might be cutting back on. If you improve their salaries, they are more likely to go out and enjoy hospitality.
I totally agree. But at the same point again then, and they're saying the wages do go up, what's going to happen then to the cost of trains? People's then going to be priced out of travelling. I've just come back from Krakow, and the trains over there
Poland.
are just amazing, you know, from the trams and from the rail. Now, in the last 12 months, going on to any in the British Rail or on any of the train networks, all the time the drivers are off. Or they're not on, we're understaffed. I come on the train last night. There was 2 sandwiches that weren't very good on there, all the way from a Glasgow train to London. One gentleman who was working, and he says, oh, we're understaffed. There's no table service on the train. You've got to go there. The only beer they had on was Budweiser. And funny enough, Budweiser's going on strike as well. So, you know, well, they are saying in the summer, now for barbecues and that lot, you're going to have a shortage of beer.
Well, let's talk dates, Mr Lynch. When's the strike going to happen?
Well, we haven't made any dates. We've given a period now where we can negotiate. We have not made a decision to take any particular...
How long's that period?
Well, we'll re-examine it next week. We'll be talking to the employers in between. And if we get a process going, we can get a settlement.
You have to give notice, don't you? So there's a period of time that we... So it wouldn't be before when?
Well, we've got no intention of taking this action during the Queen's Jubilee. That's a myth that's been put about by people. We've never intended to do that. We don't want to ruin that weekend for anyone. We want to get a serious settlement. We want the companies to address the issues at stake, and that will do everybody some good. If we can prove that workers can get a pay rise, other workers in this country, such as the care workers, the health workers, the education workers, all those people that have been struggling for the last 2 or 3 years, that will set an example. So in some ways, we're leading at the cutting edge for the trade union movement. We want all workers to get a square deal in this country. And the employers and the people that are raking in the profits, billions of pounds in terms of the energy companies at the moment, have got to give up some of that profit and give it back to the workers so that people like David's businesses and the small business and small enterprises can prosper in this country with a square deal for all.
Yeah, I think the idea behind the windfall tax is to give money directly to people to pay their energy bills.
But that will give them more spending money as well.
All right. Mick Lynch, thanks very much indeed. David Wilson.
Thank you both.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.